All right, guys, it is 11 o'clock. Welcome to the Power Half Hour, which goes on every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in again. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm always super stoked to talk to Wilson. I always get a lot of insights, and I learned a lot. And man, he's an absolute genius. He's selling real estate out in San Francisco. Actually, I had the pleasure of meeting up with him and his team in San Fran last year. Just a phenomenal group, and it's great to have you on, man. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
John, I appreciate the opportunity. And if there's a goal that you guys are spending 30 minutes with John and I, it's to have you walk away with actionable items and new thoughts and new ways to think about business so you guys can grow and succeed. So let us know what questions you have and what we can help with.
I have the chat box open, so we'll be ready for it. But tell us a little bit about yourself. We know that you had hit $100 million in production before 30 years old, which is unheard of. It's crazy, but it wasn't always like this. How did you start?
Yeah. So just like every single person on this call, I'm sure we have a variety of people that are solo agents, new to, we lead a team, and we do quite a bit in production. So to be honest, I got in the industry because I saw this as a lucrative opportunity where my time and effort could compound to do more than if I worked a 9-to-5 job, even though there's a lot of tech opportunities and startup opportunities in our area. And it's because I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my parents, who also ran their own business. And looking at the risk that they took, my experience of observing them and helping them in their business when I was a young teenager and as I grew up, I saw that taking risk could lead to a better life. And sometimes if we didn't take that risk, we would actually not have the opportunities we have today. So super thankful for that. And it took me 4 years as a solo agent to start building my team, hiring my first assistant. And that's where we started to grow. That's where we made the decision on having leverage in our life, having focus on specific duties in our business. And from there, the idea for all my agents is, how can I make sure every single person's dollar per hour wage continues to go up, so that if they decide to spend 20 hours, 40 hours, I know some of us on this call might spend 80 hours or 100 hours a week, how can those hours be the highest use and the highest dollar per hour that we can earn? And with that in mind, that's how we've kind of built our team from that time.
That's awesome, man. And I've spoken to a lot of team leaders in the past few weeks here, and it seems like the common theme is to have the team members succeed first and foremost, to have the team members, increase their dollar per hour. That is really the goal. It's never about the leader. Everybody thinks it's about the leader. It's really not about the leader as opposed to the team members. If they succeed, and obviously the team leader would then succeed.
That is absolutely true. And I think it's a switch that we have to make in our minds, because we all start as individual agents. We might join a team as a buyer's agent, but ultimately our time and effort and being proactive and utilizing our skills and time dictate ultimately our income. And without a doubt, I think a lot of us on this call see real estate as a higher income earning potential career and industry. So it does start there. I think it's really important for us to have a goal and achieve it for ourselves. But ultimately, if you want to get to a point where you have leverage in your life, and if you want to get to a point where you can take a vacation and not worry about your business not suffering, right? Or just because you're not spending time in a business, does your business not run anymore? If you want to get past that phase, it really is past yourself and what you want. It comes down to the people that you surround yourself with, and of course, helping them achieve their goals. And that's a hard switch. It's going from being a successful real estate agent, if you get there, especially if you're newer. Of course, there's steps and it takes time, but going from being very good at sales to being very good at helping others. And it should be natural because we help our consumers, but it's a little different when we're dealing with agents, right? As we know, we're agents ourselves. So imagine the thoughts that go on our own mind, our own limiting beliefs, and the things that we need to help self-discover for ourselves. So we have to help ourselves, and then we can help others.
Yeah, the best customer service is it comes within, and we have to have the best impeccable customer service to our team members first and foremost is what I gather in the past few weeks interviewing team leaders. So I totally get that, and thanks for sharing that. It's huge. So I want to ask the crowd who wants to have more leverage in their life, and who wants to go on vacation and not have their business suffer. Okay, so listen carefully to Wilson when what he has to say. Okay. So I wanted to start from beginning of your career. How long have you been in real estate?
This is my 9th full year, and I started building a team my 4th full year. So it's been about a 5-year journey, and it's gradual and natural, but of course with a goal as the end game. And maybe I use end game, it's not the appropriate term. It's more so, how do I visualize myself operating when my business is in the future, right? Am I still running around showing every single property, interpreting disclosures, writing and drafting my own offers? Of course, I still have to be negotiating. That's one of the best uses of my time, and making sure that my clients are served. But ultimately, what's more important is internally is, where do I see my business? Just like if, the analogy I always use, and you guys might have heard before, you walking into your doctor's office, if they have a successful operation, is it just one guy checking you in, taking your temperature, measuring your body and all that, and asking you questions and diagnosing, prescribing you, and taking obviously your payment? It's not one person that does all of that, right? So just like a doctor's office, if they have appropriate leverage, shouldn't we too, right? So when I walk into a listing consult, or when I walk into a buyer consult, I share with them the power of the team, the power of multiple people helping you with your goal. It might sound nice that I could do everything for you and I'm going to be very high touch, but how am I going to build a successful business, just like a doctor is going to, with a lot of clientele, with a lot of repetition, with a lot of experience, if I'm a one-man show? It just doesn't really make sense. It's hard. And you're not going to be able to take vacation. And when you do, your business is not going to exist.
Yeah, we got to treat our business like a business, guys. It's not about just one person. You might think you're super important, but yet you are not. This is where true leverage comes in, and you got to have your team members be as good as you, if not better. I think that's the whole idea of leverage. So for yourself, 4 years as an individual, there's a lot of aspiring team leaders on this call, I bet. And, people just want to build their teams the first year. And I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I haven't seen it done at a high level efficiently. So what had you decide to go from a single agent to go build a team in the 4th, 5th year?
It's a great question. When I was an individual agent, I always set a goal at the end of the year of how many homes or how many families I wanted to help. No matter if I reached it or not, no matter if I felt like I was successful, no matter how much income I made, I felt frustrated because I always had to be on, I always had to work, and I didn't know the solution to that until I had good mentors. So if you're feeling frustrated, if you're an aspiring team leader, that's part of the process. Embrace it. One thing that you should keep in mind is everything you do, you should think about, how can I eventually systemize, and how can I learn it so I can teach it to someone else one day, right? Because if I internalize the information that I'm learning and I just use it myself, I'm not going to be able to think about how am I going to convey it to someone one day, unless you're purposeful about thinking about it that way. Because if we learn everything to teach someone else, we're going to learn it in a way that it's not just satisfying our own needs. You're going to be able to duplicate your actions, hopefully one day, because you've justified by working hard right now as an individual. Or even if you have a team right now and you're looking for more leverage or having more support in your business so you can focus on what you're good at, which is talking to people, meeting for coffee dates when we can, or meeting for Zoom, or having conversations over the phone, as we see John Tsai do 50 contacts a day and every single time on Instagram on his story. It's motivating, right? Why does John Tsai get such an audience? Because he's consistent. So what are we doing that's consistent, that we can document eventually, and we can eventually share with someone else because they see us succeeding because of our consistency, and eventually make it easier on ourselves to train someone else?
Got it. So really it's about consistency first and foremost, but I also heard duplicatable and repeatable. So, once you become a great agent yourself, then all it is, you teach the next person to duplicate what you did at a high level, and then they teach the next person and so on and so forth. And that's when you get the leverage, because you have duplicated yourself, or else you're always going to be doing everything, like the doctor trying to take payment, temperature, putting someone in the room, and just like a chicken with his head cut off, right? So really got that. So tell us about your production in the last couple of years versus when you started. What was your production your first year?
My first year, I sold 2 small condos for less than $1 million in volume. My second year, I sold 7 properties, third 10, fourth 10, and then it started growing from there. Once I hired my first assistant, we went from 10 to 31. And the next year, we went to 31 to 72. And then ever since that time, every single year, we've surpassed 100 transactions and over 100 sales volume.
100 million in sales volume. So you basically have doubled almost every year. 31 to 72.
I think it starts getting a little bit harder to double once you reach a bigger team. And I think with more people, there's obviously, more emotions, everyone has their own goals. Just because I want every single team member to sell 36 homes a year or help 36 families, it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right.
Some people might have goals of 12, and that satisfies them. And some people might have 15. And we just have to help the people based on their goals and not push something upon them that they don't really want.
Yeah. I tend to do that with my team members, and I apologize. Michael's on the call. I'd be like, hey man, you got to do 2 deals this month. He's like, okay, yes, Captain. He's so good about it, but it's not my goals. It's about him, right? So Michael, thank you for understanding. I have faults and I make mistakes.
And that's a key thing, John. I think you and team leaders out there, we have good intentions and we want to push our people to get more. And it's all with good intentions. And like you said, whether they want it or not, it's up to them to self-identify. Of course, you're the team lead. They might take your lead on that. And then it goes from there. But I think what you said is really, really key, where you are transparent. You make your mistakes. I make my mistakes too. But how do I react? How does John react when we make a mistake? Does he shy away from talking about it? Or does he get critical on it and ask for feedback and improve upon it? Because we as leaders for our team members, we are the example. So if we're not willing to troubleshoot ourselves, what do you think they're going to do? They're watching you as an example. So I think from the get-go, when you're by yourself, it's even more important to troubleshoot, yet it's harder because you have no one to talk to about it. Maybe a coach or a mentor like John. So
I am your coach. I am your mentor. Call me anytime, guys. Thank you for saying that, saving my ass. But so last year, I think we talked about your production being around 120 transactions and a GCI of around $2.8 million. Was that the goal? And how did that go?
So last year we closed 109 million volume, which is slightly over 2.5 mil GCI. Our goal was actually a little bit higher. And of course, this year it's a little, we're always, every single year we've set goals, we've always fallen behind our goal.
Right.
And honestly, that's okay because we're still pushing ourselves. We're still learning as a group. You know, there's new people that come in our business. Every single client's always going to be different. Of course, there's external factors such as what's going on in the world right now that we can't control that might affect human psychology and what people want to do. And that's what we have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And yet I think it's still important that we function. It's so important that we help our clients, no matter if it's going to be 200 this year or 100 this year. Hopefully we are systemizing our business so we're put in front of more opportunities. And ultimately, more opportunities just means we can bring people further down the sales funnel of helping them with their real estate goals.
Yeah, you're so methodical, man, and you know your numbers like crazy. And so I wanted to ask, like, you know, you're 31 years old right now, right? 32. You turned 32?
Yeah, I'm 32 this year.
Dude, you are so young. I think if you didn't hit your goal of 2.8 million, I think you're still doing fine at 2.5. Let's just say that. I wanted to ask, man, what is driving you to crush it like you're crushing it right now at such a young age?
Yep. You know, for most people that is a real estate agent on this call, hopefully you guys know your behavioral style. For most that know me or don't know me, I don't really talk about the fact that I'm actually an introvert, and I've conditioned myself and I push myself to be uncomfortable to be in front of people. You know, never have I thought that I would be selling hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate. Yet I am, and it's because I pushed myself. There's a desire to do it. Now, I could share a little bit more about that, where I think, you know, I don't know where everyone on this call is from, and also the people that are joining us on Facebook. You know, a lot of us are immigrants to the countries that we're in, whether it's Canada or US. For me, I'm a second generation. My dad, my father, and my mother were the immigrants here. And for them, when they were my age, their choice was life or death. My dad had to escape China. You know, he had to swim from Zhuhai to Auman, you know, from a part of China to a part of a colony of Portugal, right at that time. If they didn't take that, if he didn't make that decision and take that risk of potentially drowning or getting eaten by sharks or whatever is running through his mind, imagine where I would be. I wouldn't be here, right? So I leveraged the fact that I grew up very humbly. I didn't have everything when I grew up. And because of that experience, do I blame my parents? I could take that approach. We all have friends that take that approach. Let's blame external circumstances for our shortcomings. Or am I going to make the best of my situation, right? Am I going to embrace the fact that I do have a history that's not the most ideal? What am I going to do about that? For those of you that are meeting me for the first time, you don't know me, and I don't expect you to see what I do behind the scenes, but I work hard because I realize not every single person has had the opportunity that I've had, right? And it might be better or it might be worse than other people, but it is the opportunity that I have. So what am I going to do with it? And, you know, there's other things that have led me to have, you know, the way that I think and also the experiences that I've experienced. But ultimately, I think the question that every single individual on this call needs to ask themselves is, based on what I have, based on, you know, sometimes might not be able to troubleshoot my limiting beliefs, but am I willing to get myself to a better place? Or do I default to thinking about how shitty my situation is? Lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
We can always dwell on it, or we can think about how can I improve my situation? Because honestly, for a lot of us, your previous, you know, your previous generation, your folks or your grandparents, they probably had a different environment that they could operate in. So we have a golden opportunity. I recently saw a quote online, and it's, you know, some people aren't given the opportunity to help their family and their legacy, right? But you can make that difference for your family's legacy. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What risks are you going to take? And just because it gets hard one day, are you reminded of how much better it would be? Are you willing to sacrifice for, you know, the gratification of eating that pizza right now, or not working out now and sitting on a couch and watching TV, versus making that 5 extra calls because you want a better future for yourself? Sorry, I rambled a little bit there, but, you know, hopefully that gives people some perspective.
Oh man, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm inspired. I'm truly inspired. I right now I feel like I want to get on the phone and just work. You know, we have such a huge opportunity, and you know, a lot of us in real estate were like, you know, complaining about clients, complaining about what the work that we need to do. Guys, we're talking to people every day. We're just blah 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 blah. We might drive here and there, and you know, we sign up contracts, and ultimately, we're not under a tarp right now, guys. We're not swimming, you know, ocean to, you know, from shore to shore, trying to stay alive. Guys, we are so blessed. All we got to do is go out there and contribute to our buyers and sellers and get the job done, you know, which is what, you know, Wilson has done at such high level. And I can see that you're channeling, you know, your parents, what they had to go through. So you came from humble beginnings. What advice would you have for people who, you know, come from really, really good beginnings? What can they channel?
Yeah, so I think there's 3 things that we typically think about, right? You know, I think it takes, number 1, really knowing the present self. Like, what experiences do I have? What's my skill set right now? and what's my production right now, and thinking about and taking inventory of what do I need to improve, what my strengths and weaknesses are. A lot of us are future facing, where we're always thinking about what's my goal, what do I want to achieve, right? However, if we don't take into consideration who we are and why we are the person that we are because of our past, then we're missing a piece of the puzzle too. Just because we're driven and we have a goal, it doesn't mean that we're going to take the action to get there. So even if we had really, really good of a foundation, appreciate it, right? Come from a point of gratitude. You've been given what you've been given, and how can we make it better? And do you want to be better? I think a lot of people join a call like this, not knowing exactly what to expect, but having the intention to learn. You guys are clearly driven to a certain extent by something. And maybe it might take, a couple glasses of wine to just sit and self-reflect, but think about it, like why do you want to be successful? What's driving you? Like sometimes, it's a very deep reason, such as some people I've encountered, they never got acceptance from their parents. No matter how good of grades that they got, their parents always said, no, you can do better. And because of that non-acceptance, they're always looking for outside approval for something. Let's analyze that. How can we get approval for ourselves? How can we feel proud about ourselves? What can we measure for ourselves to say, I'm moving in the right direction? What is it for all of us individually on this call that we can look back and say, how did I become the person I am today? And how can I leverage the fact that I do have strengths and weaknesses and capitalize on the strengths? And, I don't know if that's a direct answer, but I think everyone's situation is different, where you just have to think to yourself and figure it out. And of course, I'm not a person that knows it all. I just have the experiences I have, and I just make the best of it.
You certainly do make the best of it. And I feel like I was just in a therapy session. Thank you for that. So guys, whatever it is for you guys, really figure out the why. You can always get the what, and you'll figure out the how, but you got to know the why. We call it why power, guys. Why power. Okay. All right. So we're free for questions right now. Jack, you have 2 questions. Let's go.
Yeah. So thank you for that. It's definitely very inspiring. And so number 1 would be, so when you first hire your assistant and your first buyer agent, how do you know it's the right one? Obviously, sometimes I know you got to go through numbers. And how do you, I don't know if motivating is the right word, because you cannot motivate people. So, but basically, what's your process about that, so that you make sure that you can create a solid system on that?
Yeah.
And the second would be, I'm guessing who you are today is definitely different than who you were 10 years ago. And I'm guessing in this past 10 years, you got different mentor, different training program. Can you share with us, like maybe a few of the biggest thing that you learned from those mentor or programs that make you who you are? And once and now that you are who you are, how do you transfer that information to your team and help them with it?
Great questions. Those are, we can go a lot of directions with those, and I'll keep it brief, and then unless you want more detail. So first is, how do you know who to hire? We look at track record. Out of the 12 people that are with our team, minus myself, 11 of them came from a different industry. They were not experienced. So every single one of my agents, minus one of them, was fresh in real estate. And I rather work with people that don't have preconceived notions of how much commission they should get per side, because I want them to learn the way that we do business, because it's untraditional, right? It's more traditional to be a one-man show that does everything. And transitioning that mindset that you've done everything yourself and joining a team is a little bit more difficult. Not saying that it's not going to work, as long as you convey the value of the team. I still think it works. So some of the most important things is core values. First is, Jack, have you identified what your core values are? I'll share with you what mine are. Number 1 is super high integrity. Don't fuck around, right? Don't do something wrong for a client if it only satisfies your own goals. Because if you do that, that puts all of our reputation in jeopardy. That is a big no-no. Operate by ethics. Have you had a track record that I could see on your resume that you've always done the right thing? Second is making sure that you embrace hard work. If you have been given everything in your life, but you still show a track record of working hard because you work hard and you want to achieve something, That's something that I look for in a resume too, right? Are you someone that appreciates hard work, or do you want to just work on the lowest hanging fruit and take an easy way out? I think within a conversation with an individual, you probably could figure that out. And then third is, it's a hard mental switch that I had to make, but are you a person that really cares for others and is willing to come from contribution? And what have you done in your history of work or your history of, let's say, your whatever you enjoy doing yourself? Have you shown signs of that? Like, how have you been selfless, right? And I look for those by having a conversation, by asking questions. And if you can identify those values in a person that you're sitting across from or via Zoom, then I think you have a candidate that's good potential. Next is skill. I don't care what someone writes on their resume when it comes to what they've done, because I'd rather hear within the first 15 minutes of how they handle my call, how they respond to my email, and how they introduce themselves. Are they going to be a good fit? Within 15 seconds, you already know. Like, are they timid to be a salesperson? Or are they, hey man, Jack, I've been waiting to talk to you. I'm so excited. Or are they overly anxious, right? And they're just overimposing. These are important, because if I was talking to a client for the first time, or they were, how are they going to come across? So I interpret those things. And next is making sure you have a mission statement for your business and the value, and identify the value that you provide to team members and what you in return want from them. So that's how I identify who I hire, based on my criteria of my values, my mission, and all that. Sorry, John?
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
I thought you were going to say something. But hopefully that gives you some insight. It's a long process. Another tip is, think about it. Your average hiring process is literally, hey, Jack, thanks for giving me a call. Thank you for your resume. Talk to me about yourself. And a couple minutes later, or another phone call after, Jack, you're hired. Think about this. If you dated someone for a phone call and you dated someone for one meeting and you decided to marry them, do you think you guys are aligned? Probably not. You don't know enough about this person, right? So I think you should definitely slow down the process, take more time, learn about their goals. Once you build a relationship to learn about your goals, personal, business, health, financial, what you want to do, if I know that about you, Jack, and I've shown some sort of track record of success in real estate, and I want to train you on that, you bet. When was the last time someone asked you about your personal goals, right? Or even, when was the last time you thought about your own personal goals and frequency? And you guys are able to do that for the people that you're sitting across from, you will earn their trust. And if they see you as evidence of success and they're following you for a reason, because you have something that they want, you have alignment in values, standards, your mission, you know what they want, and they know what you want to achieve in your business, that's a good candidate. They want to work hard. They see the value you provide. All of that put together, it takes a little bit of time to get to know that person and them get to know you. So hopefully that helps. It's a little bit of a long answer. And for your second question, who you are today versus what trainings and learnings, honestly, sometimes in the past, I was just reluctant to pay a couple $100s to take a class, and that was the biggest mistakes that I've made. Not saying that every single opportunity of a class we should jump on and spend money and distract ourselves from actually lead gen and lead follow-up, but there should be a balance of making sure that we have the intention of being a student. To this day, I'm still a student. I'm always learning. I have things to learn from John. I have things to learn from you, Jack, too, right? The question is, am I putting myself in a position to have conversations so I can learn? And if I do have a question for someone like John, who's killing it in Vancouver, am I asking him, right? Am I willing to ask? Or am I fearful of my preconceived way of thinking that John's gonna ignore me, right? John's too busy for me. That's my limiting belief. He's not gonna answer me, right? You'd be surprised. John wants to help. That's why he hosts these things. And other people do too, that are not on this call, that you would see as a mentor. And it just takes asking. And that leads to other doors that are open. But unless you ask, you're never gonna know. So my advice to my previous self is ask sooner. The day I got into business, don't try everything on your own and fail on your own. Learn from other people's experiences. Because if I asked sooner and I took the risk of doing that, I would have shortcut where I am today too. So just because I feel from the outside, judging someone by their cover of X amount of production, I could have been at a much further place, and I'm still learning. I still have a lot of things I could do better. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's huge, Wilson. Thank you for that. So really, who you hire is people who embrace hard work. Guys, listen up. Embracing hard work. Like, you really gotta want to work and with high integrity, and keep asking questions, guys. That's why we're doing these calls. Is that we give you access, to people who have done what you want to do. So keep asking questions. I don't know if Gary Yao's on the call. He said to Jack, man, I think John's too busy for me. That's why he didn't call me. I was like, man, I'm right here. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Call me. Well, thank you for that, Wilson. So one last question. How do you try to talk to a client who does not listen and responds not from listening to what they hear?
Can you clarify that question?
So basically, how do you talk to a client who does not listen?
So I think John is a great example of the solution to this. If you're working with one client, you're gonna make sure you do whatever it takes, and maybe bend your neck and lean forward and take more, like meet someone more than halfway to get it done. And if you lose them as a client, you feel really bad about it because that's the one client you have. Versus if you're John and you make 50 contacts a day and you got 5 solid leads from that one day, and 4 of those eventually say they're not interested in buying or selling anymore, but one person decides it and says, John, you provide so much value ever since I've gotten to know you, and I want to work with you, you're not going to feel bad about it. So one of the solutions to that question is, there's a part where skill set and what you say hopefully can convey a message and provide value to this individual so that they will become a client. But if you have a lot of people to work with, sometimes you might not even have to worry about that. So the first solution is build a bigger pipeline so you have more choices to choose who is more motivated and who sees value in what you do. The second is, let's talk about skill. What's the exact objection that they're giving you? What are they saying? And then maybe we can practice that. And then of course, at the end of the day, they wouldn't be talking to you unless they have a goal they want to achieve. So have we done a good enough job to uncovering their motivations? Because if they tell you, hey, John, I want to sell, and you say, great, and you just sign the order, but you never ask them if they consider to rent it, and they end up renting it after 3 months of you working for them, you're going to questions to figure out what they really want to do. And you might not have asked enough questions to find out what options they have. And it's our job to figure out all their options.
That's awesome. So Esther, thank you for the question. So really it is, one part is, you got to work on your skills of listening and speaking and responding and really get what their motivation is. Now, if they're just completely unreasonable and not listening to you, you know what? Mike Ferry always says, when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. And that's what we do every single day. That's why we do it. So thank you for the question. Dude, we have run out of time. I just want to say thank you so much. Dude, you are like, you're a genius. I'm going to say it again. You are a genius. And you're like a 50-year-old's maturity stuck in a 31-year-old's body, I swear. But how can we...
My body might be older than a 31-year-old. So.
I think you're good. I think you're good. So how can we contribute to you? What's your specific area of where you sell real estate? And I heard you also have a mastermind that is we can plug into as well.
Yeah. So first, we're based here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I appreciate obviously you asked me that question. So if you guys have any questions about our local market, please feel free to just reach out. It's very similar to Vancouver, where John you're at, in many ways. And your second question, we have something called mondaymasterminds.com, and it's very similar to what you guys are doing here, but we field questions from the audience and we just have a mastermind around it. And it's every Monday at 1 p.m. And if you're interested, or if you have questions for myself or of course John, just feel free to reach out and we can point you in the right direction. I think the intention of all this is to help each other, right? We're all at home. Sometimes, circumstances don't let us to be together in person with our clients, with, family, friends. And if there's any way that we can stick together and help each other improve, that's my goal, because I'm just paying back what I've learned over the years.
Thank you. And you certainly did today. So many gold nuggets. I bet everyone has to watch a replay on Facebook. Man, thank you for today. You've been such a contribution to myself and to the crowd today and to the real estate community. Let's stay in touch. But yeah, have a great day, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.